You were talking about money, right?
Separate yourself widely from the pack moving forward. That's something that you would be willing to have a discussion about.
Because they didn't get it.
They
were
probably
like, hey,
didn't get it. Yeah.
To follow up with your clients, to generate more leads. You know what I mean?
Always check to make sure you're recording.
The record.
Yeah.
Clap and I need to start over and all that jazz.
Oh, Lord.
Yep. We're going 5, 4, 3.
Do you love your wife?
Yes.
Right? Prove it. Like, what's the metric? Give me the number that helps me know, right? Because when you met her, you didn't love her, right? Now you love her, right? Tell me the day the love happened. It's an impossible question, right? But it's not that it doesn't exist. It's that it's much easier to prove over time, right? So all leadership is the same thing. It's about transitions. So if you were to go to the gym, right? It's like exercise, right? If you go to the gym and you work out and you come back and you look in the mirror, you will see nothing. And if you go to the gym the next day and you come back and you look in the mirror, you will see nothing, right? So clearly there's no results, can't be measured, it must not be effective. So we quit, right? Or if you fundamentally believe that this is the right course of action and you stick with it, like in a relationship, I bought her flowers and I wished her happy birthday, and she doesn't love me. Clearly I'll give up. You know, that's not what happens. If you believe there's something there, you commit yourself to an act of service. You commit yourself to the regime, the exercise. You can screw it up. You can eat chocolate cake one day. You can skip a day or two. You know, it allows for that. But if you stick with it consistently, I'm not exactly sure what day, but I know you'll start getting into shape. I know it. And the same with the relationship. It's not about the events. It's not about intensity. It's about consistency.
Consistency is something that we all have trouble with. But we're back to talk about it. I'm Mark Jones, your host of Key Factors Podcast, sponsored by ReviewMyMortgage.com. And in today's episode, we are going to be talking about consistency. We're going to be talking about the struggles that you have with consistency. And I've brought along a friend that I ran into recently, and in my opinion, everything happens for a reason. And I guess without further ado, let me introduce MikeAnthony Torres.
I appreciate it, man. Always good to see you. Always, especially running into you randomly, you know? That's
Absolutely.
beautiful. You just never know who you're going to run into, but I'm glad to be here, man. I appreciate you inviting me.
Absolutely. So MikeAnthony, and I'm going to give him a moment to kind of give you his background, but has been an entrepreneur since I've met him. And I've known him since high school, to be honest.
Yeah.
And a lot of folks out there
True.
were like, how do you know MikeAnthony? I'm like, dude, we went to high school together.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what the disconnect is in people not understanding how we know each other and all that good stuff. I haven't been in the nightlife in a long time.
Yeah.
We took different paths, but at the same time, I think the path or the way we got there is still the same, and it's consistency.
No, it really is.
So before we get into that, let's tell the folks who you are, what you're about, where you come from, what you got going on.
Man, it starts with being a promoter here in San Antonio. I'm not the big type of person to like titles and everything like that, but I know that, you know, it's part of life. But I always tell people I'm a promoter, marketer, someone that just loves to help out others, and pretty much have been able to bring in some really good events throughout the years of my career in promotions, advertising, and marketing, and have built some really great brands, you know, so All Access Promotions Entertainment, 417 Solutions, Late Nights with All Access, and within those entities, we have other stuff that we have that are all together. So it's just been a blessing to see everything come to flourish.
Absolutely. So recently, I was at a karaoke event. My mom, if you guys know, she does a ton of karaoke. She's fantastic at it. And if you don't know, now you know.
Shout out to Norma.
But I was there, and my dad comes up to me and says, "Hey, MikeAnthony is up there, and he's the one that's running this thing." And I went, "No freaking way." And I'm looking around, there's tons of people, and the jams are going, and there he is up on the mic, doing what he does.
Yeah.
And I got a moment to talk to you for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, dude, what's going on, what you got going on. And one of your messages really quickly was consistency. That's kind of how I got here. And I turned around and said, me too. And everything timing is, like I said, intended for you to figure out, but it happens intentionally, in my opinion.
Yes, it does.
And that being the case, at that point in time, I was getting ready to relaunch this podcast.
Yes.
And
Congratulations again.
thank you. And at that time, I was having struggles with redoing it because it does take away time from what I actually do to make money. A lot of folks, matter of fact, I was playing cards last night and my podcast popped up and they were like, hey, that's you. And I was like, yeah, that's me. He said, so how much do you make from that? Nothing. Matter of fact, I spend money to do this.
Yes.
But it is my goal to give back as much as I can to the folks around me and hopefully nationally. And this episode isn't about real estate. It's more so entrepreneurial and trades and practices that can be used in order to get to where you want to go. And obviously that's your goals, right?
Yeah.
So your story is one that, in my opinion, needs to be shared. You've got your podcast that you've got going on. And I actually recently had an opportunity to be a guest on another podcast. So it's weird being the host in a different position.
It is.
So you get to be the guest this time.
I know, right?
You know?
Because you like when you're a host, you take lead.
Yeah, yeah.
And this time you gotta like follow the lead.
Absolutely.
But it's a beautiful thing for everyone that's trying it out and doing the podcast. And one of the things that you just said right now is not doing it for the money. Yeah, eventually you would love to have, some income coming into the podcast, but I have a live podcast that we do every Monday night called Late Nights with All Access for over 3 years and consistently just every single Monday night. And that involves bringing special guests and whatnot. And granted, we did try to do the whole sponsors and we did have a good feedback on it and sponsorships. But for me, it was more about building the brand and building the audience before actually charging something for people to actually advertise.
That makes sense.
On there.
Build the value first.
Build the value because these podcasts are really, really key factors for people that are on the go.
Yeah.
And all of us, even you guys, we're always all on the go, and everyone uses the word busy nowadays.
Right.
And
I call it prioritized.
Yes, it really is. It's a priority of what you have on your agenda or what you want to focus on. But when you're on the go so much and you have a podcast to where you can actually listen to or play and go, that's a beautiful thing because now you're able to listen to what you want to and be educated on certain areas. And with the Late Nights with All Access, the idea was to be the first live talk show, and not pre-recorded, but live talk show, and showcase something for San Antonio for the nightlife because, as you mentioned, I did take a path into the night industry as a promoter, and it's been a blessing because now I'm able to bring in local celebrities, bring in top DJs, club owners, bar owners, restaurant owners, really good influencers here in the local community of San Antonio, and kind of showcase their stories in a way and take myself away from the element and say, hey, you know what, let's go ahead and try to bring in together the community.
Right. So now you're on the hot seat.
Yeah.
And
it's a blessing. I like it.
I want to know your journey, and you can sum it up, but from start to finish. I mean, we graduated high school.
Yes.
From that point, I went off to college, came back quickly, and then started working.
Yeah.
Did a little bit of club promoting and things like that with John Vale back in the day for some free drinks and whatnot.
My boy John Vale, shout out to him, love him.
And he was actually on our first season. He was on there, and it was a great episode. So tell us, how did that begin, and where has it taken you today?
In high school, I threw a couple of house parties that were really well known, that were big, and I realized that I loved the energy and how people were having fun and whatnot. Now, I didn't know that I could actually do that for a living. I didn't grow up with business owners or entrepreneurs. I didn't even know what an entrepreneur was. I don't even know if that was a thing back in the day. But I knew that I was very stubborn at a young age. I thought I knew life at 17, so I left the house. And when I left the house, our rule was, once you leave, you're gone, you're gone. You can't come
Same
back.
here, yeah.
So I made a decision to leave at 17, which was stupid. Anyone that is 17 thinking about life, you really don't know life.
That's
Listen
right.
to your mom, listen to your dad, listen to your parents. I promise you, you'll have a better life journey on that. Listen to rules, man. But I left at 17, stubborn, and I fell into going to different jobs, selling Kirby's vacuum cleaner, to throwing the newspaper, to working at Dollar Tree, to flipping burgers at Gigi Jane's. I just had a variety of work that I just constantly did. But in that time frame from 17 to 28, I believe, I got in trouble with the law several times.
Okay.
Making careless mistakes, making poor decisions, to where it led to me to have 8 arrests, 2 felonies, and that changed my life. My first felony was in my early 20s, and I've never had a speeding ticket, never been in trouble with the law before, and that was a eye opener, because that changed my whole entire life, from trying to apply at a regular job and couldn't get hired, trying to get an apartment, couldn't get it because of your background. So that mentally messed with me and discouraged me so much. But I did go to college for one semester or a couple semesters, and took a criminal justice class, and wanted to learn about my felony.
Sure.
Wanted to learn, like, okay, what were my options after that? The professor that was a former judge actually told me, he said, son, you getting a degree and all that won't even help you. You might as well go continue to do your hustle or do the other hustle. And it was just like, okay, I got what you mean. I know what you mean.
Wow, that's funny
So-
that you say that. And I don't mean to interrupt, but I'm
No,
going
go
to
ahead.
interject with real life. I went to school, played college ball, came back, went to the community college, and then went to UTSA. And my career, or my stint at UTSA, ended with an argument with a professor that was the opposite of what that professor just gave to you, which was a golden nugget of real life expectations, having earned this degree.
Mm-hmm.
My professor, on the other hand, was one that said, you're going to make more money if you have this piece of paper.
Mm-hmm.
And he's teaching a business class. And I'm going, I'm in business already. At that time, I was working at the bank. I was doing credit repair. I was running poker games. I was doing all kinds of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And that was kind of the end for me. I'm going, you're literally lying to these people to their face. The piece of paper doesn't do anything. It's what you gain, who you meet, relationships that you build, things of that nature. So at that point, I was done. I mean, I was paying for school on my own, and I did not see the upside to continuing down this path. Mind you, college isn't for everybody, but some it is, and I'm not knocking it. It just wasn't for me, and I think you kind of came to that conclusion as well.
Yeah, I did. It was really good that the judge told me, the professor, he had, really openly just was bold and just told me, like, hey, you can continue college, but it's not going to do you any good because you already have a felony charge.
Yeah.
And regardless if it was a deferred adjudication, whatever it was, like, you still have it on your record.
Right.
So you're going to get declined and rejected all the time.
Wow.
He said, might as well just cut this and just really pursue what you really want to do. And I was very fortunate to where I met John Bell at a young age and in different paths, because I wasn't going to college. And most people that meet people, especially when you're in your early 20s, you go to college and fraternities and stuff like that. I didn't do that. I was just, I had a cousin that actually said, hey, let's go to a club, Joe's Volcano, the heart of the ghetto.
Wow. Yeah.
20 years plus, and then they shut down, right? But anyways, that
I want to say it so bad.
I know, right?
Take me to the volcano!
Right? And, we were waiting in line, and I remember just seeing people just walking in and out, and I was like, what do they do? And he was like, that's a promoter. I was like, oh, okay, cool. So, that was kind of the glimpse. And I went to all the clubs back in the day and realized that I was seeing a lot of these so-called promoters. And then I met John, and basically he was just like, hey, let me show you the ropes of what a promoter does. And basically him and Nick Monroe.
Right. Paper napkin production,
yes,
baby.
They basically, gave me the kind of blueprint, but, they were exiting out of the door. So John was already wanting to get out of the club business. Nick was actually done with promotions and with restaurants. So those two guys, I always give them shout outs, because if it wasn't those two guys, I wouldn't be where I am today.
That's
and
awesome.
John, being such a very humble, one of the most humblest people that I've ever met, guy's a successful entrepreneur, and you would never even know it based on the way he dresses.
100% agree.
Chucks, jeans, polo shirts, and a ball cap, and the guy probably has more money than a lot of people.
Oh, he
in town.
switched from Lacoste to polo?
I know, right? Yeah. So yes, no, but like just what I mean, just based on
Absolutely,
his presence.
yeah.
And I kind of like just started to learn who the guys were to look up to compared to the guys that were flashy in the clubs and just your weekend ballers.
Sure.
And I just remember learning about the game of the promotions and meeting people and networking and building relationships and really hustling and making a name and just having good intentions. Really having good intentions and not overselling anything and just being really transparent with people.
Yeah. And that's tough in an industry like that.
No, it is. I mean, you get, there's alcohol involved, drugs, sex, a little bit of
ego.
Yeah, ego, everything. And I think that we all, when you're around that and you get that, 5 seconds of kind of like local fame in a way, and people know who you are, it can get to your head real quick, because now you're the it guy.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, let me reach out to him. He's gonna get me in. Let me reach out. And then, but when you have someone like John to humble you down,
yeah.
I'll give you a story real quick
Please.
about John. We were at a club and we were waiting in line, and I told John, I said, hey, why don't we just tell the guys who you are, that you own the View or you own this, like, and just get the line. He said, no, it's okay, or whatever. So we go in the club, we wait in line, we go in the club, and I'm introducing people to John that he didn't know, which John's well known.
Sure.
And so some of the people that didn't know him, I was like, hey, this is John, he owns the View. Hey, this is John, he owns the View. Hey, this is John, he owns the View. And then when we go get a drink at the bar, he's like, hey, he goes, if they don't know that I do not own the View, please do not. And that was just like, aha moment.
Now, did he ever tell you the reason behind that? Because I can imagine the reason behind it.
He just didn't want people to overwhelm him, and because some people have bad intentions when they start seeing the title, like, oh, you own this, then people want to get to know you a little bit more, and they have sometimes some people have hidden agendas.
Oh, absolutely.
So it was just one of those things, but I really appreciate him humbling me down at that moment, because it made me realize that you don't have to say what you own.
Right.
You could just use titles as, like, for me, a marketing director, a promoter, and stuff like that.
Right.
And I've learned that within the years, it has helped me. Now, when people know that I own a promotional company, own a small marketing agency company, then like, hey, yeah. But, right off the back, I'm not going to be like, oh, yeah, I own this.
Right.
I just want them to know who I am first.
And it's more of an action speaking louder than the words do.
It really is.
Yeah. Especially someone like we were talking about, John, he's similar to me in the sense that everybody believes that we're extroverts, but we're really not. We'd rather be behind closed doors, doing what we do, mad scientist wise, taking care of our people, doing what we do.
I always describe my life to people. I have a boring, entertaining lifestyle. And people are like, what do you mean boring, entertaining? It's boring because it's so structured, and consistency is the key.
Yeah.
And I know what I do every hour of the hour, and that's boring to some people.
Right.
But it's entertaining because I love what I do.
Sure.
I get to talk to you right now. I get to talk to people. I get to go make my own schedule and do this and that. And that's the beauty of the entertainment part. So, and then of course it's a lifestyle, So
absolutely.
It's a boring, entertaining lifestyle.
So let me ask you that leads to a question. How difficult and how is it to be able to separate the two if you're so engulfed into that world, if that makes sense? Because I do know, and I don't know if you're okay with me saying this, I can edit it out later, but you've been sober now for quite some time.
Yeah, everything's on the table for me. Like I don't filter anything.
I love it.
It's
Same
transparent
here.
and bold, so we could talk about everything. But the sobriety really helped, and I needed the sobriety.
So being in that world, having made that decision to not consume, how difficult is that?
It wasn't difficult. It had no choice.
Okay.
So it was just like I was saying prior, I had 8 arrests, 2 felonies. It was, my mom passed away in 2015, so God bless her soul. And I learned a lot from my mother. She was a smart woman. And when I lost her in 2015, that was my rock bottom year.
I got you.
and everything that could go wrong, from getting out of a toxic relationships, going in and out of jail, financially being broke, mentally depressed, suicidal thoughts. Like, your mental health is key to y'all first and foremost. Like, that is the most important thing. And one of the best advice my mom gave me at a young age was, she said, "Mijo, no matter what you do in life, when it comes to business or personal, never lose your happy. So just never lose your happy." And that stuck to me a lot. So when I had my last arrest in 2016, mind you guys, I had two DWIs that were pending. I had an assault case pending, and I had a drug possession pending. So I have 4 different cases pending within 2 years. I go to court, and again, I'm broke. So I have a court-appointed attorney at that moment, and the judge was like, "Why shouldn't I send you to prison right now?
Right.
You had a pending DWI years ago that you haven't even, been sentenced for, and now you got your second one,
Right.
and now you got a drug possession. Now you got an assault case." He's like, "Why should you not be in prison?"
And it's like he's looking at consistency from a different aspect.
Oh yeah,
Like, you're pretty consistent, buddy.
yeah, you are consistent on everything you do.
Yeah.
And I was very blessed to get invited to a Bible study, and that was led by our former district attorney, Nicola Hood. So and him and I just clicked, and I actually knew him prior, when he used to own bars here in town.
Okay.
So him and I had already a good establishment of who we were, but I started to go to his Bible studies, and then I just, kind of broke it down to him. I said, "Hey, this is where I'm at in my life, and this is where I want to be." And so he introduced me to his former business partner, Andrew. Andrew then took all my cases. I told Andrew, like, "Hey, I got nothing for you, man.
Right.
I got no money. I mean, I could try to scrape things. I mean, I was a broker for a limousine company at that moment, so I was booking limos and party buses before I owned them. I told him, I'm like, "Man, I'll do something. Just get me out of this.
I need
He's
some
like,
help. Yeah.
He said, "Go get a hair follicle. Go put yourself in an outpatient program. Go get volunteer yourself for a breathalyzer. Go do all this stuff. He's like, you go do it first." And so I did everything he told me to do. Presented at the judge. The judge was like, "Wow, you actually took initiative to fix yourself.
Right.
So we'll give you a work release program." And for those that don't know anything about work release program, that is basically you're going in and out of jail every single day, which can still mentally
Oh,
mess you
yeah,
up.
I'm sure.
So you're in a work release program for 6 months, to where you're free for 8 hours in the real world, and then the rest of the hours you're back in jail.
Mm.
And it's not like you get a bed or anything like that. You're in jail with
The real
criminals.
jail, yeah.
Yes. And you got to get, butt naked. You got to, do everything. It's just
Scared straight.
It is.
Yeah.
Because you're next to, real criminals, like rapists, thugs, like you're in there.
And all the while, you thought you were.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You think you're hot shot and you're big stuff, but like when you go into that element, you gotta really, like, for me, I feel like because I grew up in different areas in San Antonio, I still have that mentality of understanding how to adapt to any situation.
Absolutely,
and
yeah.
I can talk with every single person in different demographic, and I relate to them because of the variety of being able to grow up in different areas in San Antonio. But in that element, I understood, one, the justice system is messed up completely, because a lot of these guys that were in there didn't get second chances. So they would be in the work release program and then never come back, because they knew that if they went upstairs, which is the actual jail, then they would just do 2 to 3 months in time, and then they'll get released, and then they'll go right back into that cycle.
Correct.
So no one's educated really when it comes to the criminal justice system, and we could talk about that in another time. But for me, that was a key point, and I actually appreciated the work release program, because it allowed me to understand how to crunch 24 hours within 8 hours of time of being free.
Wow.
So when I went back to jail every day, I would write, and I'm a writer. I write
Okay.
at least 1 hour out of my day every single day, and and again, consistency.
Yeah.
I believe that everybody should spend 1 hour of the day writing. You got to just write, and And so for me, I was writing every single day, and I realized how to crunch 24 hours within 8 hours being free. And this time, again, y'all, I was financially broke. I was negative $524.18 in one of my accounts. I was completely broke.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, I got to do something that I'm good at, promoting, advertising, marketing. And I basically, within those 6 months, generated over 6 figures and understood how to utilize my time. So in reality, that 6 months of work release program really focused me into time management.
Sure.
And so when I was released, I was like, it's game over. Like once I'm
I
getting
love that.
24 hours, I'm taking advantage of it. And now I average, 3 to 5 hours of sleep, sometimes none.
You and me both.
But
Yeah.
it is just, and the thing is, and I want people to understand, you have to do what works for you. Like, yes, we hear wake up 4 a.m., 5 a.m., but if your schedule is waking up at 9 a.m. and you can knock out everything like someone that does that at 4 a.m., by all means, that's
Sure.
good for you. And I think that's what people kind of look at. They look at others and say, well, this person's waking up at 4 a.m. I got to wake up at 4 a.m.
Mhm.
No, you just got to focus on your time management and focus on where you're at every hour of the hour and really go through it. That's why I say it's a boring, entertaining lifestyle because boring is consistency.
Yeah,
to a
no,
lot
that
of
makes
people.
sense.
It is.
And a couple of things that you mentioned there, which I think it is a bigger message for those that are listening that have fallen on tough times, that have been in some difficult situations, faced a little adversity,
Mhm.
which is the choice is always yours.
Yes.
Meaning you decided to take the attorney's advice when
Mhm.
somebody didn't have to. I mean,
Mhm.
nobody's forcing you to do that.
Mhm.
But you had an end goal that you didn't know how to get to. You sought advice from a mentor, from somebody that you either trusted or trusted the person that was giving you that reference. And then moving forward, you didn't just go through the motions of that. You actually took what was, let's call them parameters that you had to live within, and that became your new structure that then showed you, okay, once I get out of here, now imagine what I can do with my time, having grabbed hold of my time and actually put it into a calendar, making sure that checks and balances have to be there because at the end of the day, I've made my commitment to this and I've got to be here at this time. And from that time moving forward, I ain't got no cell phone, I ain't got no this, none of that stuff. So I'll relate it to the military. Military treats those folks as if everything is structured. They get out of there and they're still folding their underwear type situation. And there's a lot of people out there that are going through tough times that believe it's the end. There's no turning back. There's no coming back from something like this. And that's I think a huge message to people, letting them know that there's always time until there's not. And the choice is always yours.
Yeah, it is. And time is the best gift you could give someone, and time is the best investment you can make. A lot of people are like, "What's your investment?" I'm just like, time.
Yeah.
Time is always the best investment. You just got to pick what you want to do.
Yeah.
But through that journey of learning time management and focusing on what was a priority, I realized that my sobriety actually helped a lot too. Because once I hit rock bottom and my last time in jail, I made a phone call to an ex-girlfriend of mine, and she answered the phone, and she knew it was already me. She's like, "How did I know it was going to be you?" And there was a pause, and the next thing she says was, "Your mom would not be proud of you." And again, there's another aha moment in my life. Your mom would not be proud of you because my mom already had died, y'all.
Right.
And so to me, I was just like, damn, like I need to really change. So when I got out of jail that day and released, before getting, the work release program and all that, I went straight back to the bar because I'm in that industry, right?
Sure.
Went straight to the bar. And before, nobody really knew besides my close friends, family, and just close friends and family that knew that I was actually in jail. So when I went back to the bar that next night, when I get there, I parked and asked God. I said, God, can you please just help me man up? Can you please get me the courage to not order a drink, not to buy anyone a drink, just be there in the environment and just not do anything with alcohol
Yeah,
because this is my lifestyle.
absolutely.
This is what I know.
You're in the thick of
Yes.
things.
So
Mhm.
can you please just let me do that? And back then, I used to have a nickname called Hollywood because I was the guy that would buy everyone shots and stuff like that, which I still do. Because even though I'm sober, I don't take away from people drinking. Like I had no choice, and I want
Right.
people to know that. Like I had no choice. So when I went to the bar, and that was like probably the longest night in my entire life.
It's just slow
know,
motion,
slow
everything.
motion.
Yeah.
So like, 1 o'clock comes around, people, getting told like, hey, last call's about to come, 1:30, 1:45, 2 a.m. Everyone's out the door, 2:30, I leave, get home, say one more prayer, woke up and never, ever had a desire to drink, do drugs or anything like that again.
That's awesome.
So the sobriety was just there.
Yeah.
So and at first I didn't really share it with anyone until I started helping close friends of mine become sober.
Mm-hmm.
So shout out to my boy Chris Motts. Shout out to my boy Desmond. So Desmond and I kind of met through Chris, and Desmond was like, "You should encourage people to speak about your sobriety
Mm-hmm.
because I know you don't want to." He's like, "But you should really speak about it because you are in this industry, and people kind of look up
They
to
look
you in
up
a
to
way."
it. Yeah.
And I was just like, I don't know. We had a brunch after we went to CBC. That's our church that we love. So shout out to Pastor Ed Newton too as well, because he actually did a segment with all three of us about sobriety.
Very cool.
And so I decided to share it and then just kind of put it out there. And I've been sharing it. Now, I always tell people at this moment. And the reason why I say at this moment, because I don't know if I'm going to be sober for the rest of my life.
Sure.
After my time in jail and the work release program, I challenged myself 5 years. And it was crazy because I was listening to the radio, which I don't often listen to the radio, but the radio came on and I heard I'm a big fan of Eminem, but not a Stan fan, but just just
And
a
we're
fan.
sorry,
Okay.
Mama.
Yeah. So I'm a fan of Eminem, but the radio played and they said something about him hitting 10 years of sobriety. And so for me, I talk to my mom all the time, even though she's not here with us.
Sure.
But I always talk to her, right? And I always get signs from her all the time.
Mhm.
And I was telling my mom, I was like, man, I really want to, I don't know what I'm going to do after my probation. Should I just continue this sobriety? Should I not? Give me a sign. Turn on the radio. All I hear is Eminem, 10 years. And I was like, okay, that's the goal. Let's do 10 years total for the sobriety. And I remember talking to Chris and other friends of mine, I would always say, I'll have my drink tomorrow. So it was just kind of
It's like Joe's Crab Shack.
yes.
Free crabs tomorrow.
Yes.
They're always tomorrow.
Yeah. So for me, it helped because everyone would ask me, they're like, hey, did you have that drink today? I'm like, no, I was so busy. I was doing this, this. I'll do it tomorrow. And it became a thing
That's
for
cool.
me that I just kept on saying, I'll have my drink tomorrow, which I still tell you I'll have my drink tomorrow.
And you know what, guys? That is a definition of cool right there, in my opinion. Now, I want to ask you something before we get deeper or before we go into the consistency side of things.
Yeah, of course.
The ex-girlfriend that called you that day, or that you called,
Yeah.
what would life be like without her, in my opinion, being a true friend, a true somebody that actually cared about you
Yeah.
and the way that she went about it? Because I can tell you that most friends out there aren't willing to tell their real friends the
Mhm.
truth
No, that's true.
and raw truth. You
Mhm.
know, that what she told you could have essentially gone a different way. You could have taken that the wrong way from her, but I don't know if she knew it in the way that she could have presented it to you. I don't know if she knew that you would tolerate it this way or digest it this way, but she did, and it was very direct and it was straight to the heart.
No, it was. I when I share the story, I always include her because of the fact that it was a big aha moment.
Mhm.
It was a big eye opener because it's like, what would your mom say if you were going through this stuff? Like, what would she say? And she would not be proud. I mean,
Right.
to be straightforward, she would not be proud. And my mom was very bold and transparent. She would like she's the mom that tells you if you suck at something. She's not the mom that tells you go sing in front of Simon and Cowell and make yourself look like a fool.
Yep.
She'll tell you like, Mijo, you suck at singing, sit your ass down.
Yeah.
You know,
No,
like-
and that's
like
very
straightforward. Like,
And I think we relate on that aspect, and you realize that pretty quickly. My mom is very similar to what you
Yes.
described,
Mhm.
and that has a lot to do with who we are today.
Y'all don't know, but I did not know that Mark's parents were at the karaoke contest. So just real quick, let me share this. They are so cool. His
Oh,
parents,
Lord
his mom
Jesus.
and dad. His dad got swag. They were singing Ja Rule and Ashanti. And I host this karaoke contest at the Roundup Music Venue, shameless plug, in Bernie. And it was just amazing to see all the talented karaoke singers come out. We were doing a competition. And without knowing that these are his parents, I just loved them to death.
He's over here
And-
hanging out with my parents.
Yes, I know.
So mom, dad, finally, you get your shot out.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, I'll do it. And the thing is that Facebook, I posted something and then someone tagged Norma,
Yeah.
and it was one of our high school friends. I was like, why would this person tag your mom, not knowing that it was a mom?
Yeah.
Norma. I was like, what's the relationship? So of course, you click.
Rabbit hole. Yep.
And then I see Mark with her. I was like, wait, no way. I was like, damn.
explains a lot now,
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah, I was like, I see where Mark gets his coolness from, you know?
Cool and crazy. That's awesome.
So it was just great to know that, you know. Again, San Antonio is a big, small city. So
It really
in
is.
my eyes, it really is.
And growing.
Really growing. a lot.
Yeah, no, we've had plenty of episodes talking about its growth and what's happening with the market and all that good stuff.
Mhm.
And that's why I think throughout the podcast episodes that I have and the messages that I'm trying to provide, I want to make sure to give folks something different every once in a while. And this is the different, to give them a real story of someone that created success for themselves and had clear adversity, had to
Yes.
overcome clear obstacles when it wasn't very easy at all.
And it's still not easy, y'all. A lot of people say like, "Oh man, it's easy. You're this and that," but I know, like, it's a grind every day.
Mhm.
You know, where's that saying? Like, rent's due every day or something
Rent
like that.
is due every
Like,
day.
so
That's
it
right.
is very true because
Wake up like the rent's due every day. Yep.
like, I don't have a guaranteed check, and this is what I tell people: when you work and you have a career and you have an 8 to 5, no matter what, you have a guaranteed check, and then that's what a lot of people like is security.
Mhm.
For me, I have no security. So if I do not bust my ass every single day and make connections and relationships and have good intentions, then nothing comes through. You know, I've been blessed and fortunate with the relationships that I have built and the opportunities that have come forth to me to where I've been able to accomplish a lot of these things. But I never take it for granted because it took. I always tell people I'm a 13 plus year work in progress, which is true. I'm still a work in progress. I'm a student in life. I love learning, and I don't think I know it all. You know, and I'm that person that will ask questions if I don't know something, or I'm not that person to tell you like, "Hey, I don't have the answer, but let me find it for you." You know,
That's,
and
I
I
mean,
find solutions. So
couldn't have said it better myself.
yeah,
And I mean, as a mentor to the other loan officers, that's something that comes up daily is if you don't know the answer, do not lie. You
Mhm.
tell them you don't know, but you are the person with the resources,
Mhm.
and then go get them the answer and
Yeah.
give them the right expectation of when you're going to get back to them. If it's going to take you 24 hours, tell them 24 hours. Don't
Mhm.
tell them I'll call you right back if it's going to be 24 hours, because they are dependent on you as the expert. And I mean, that is a testament to what you're doing.
Mhm.
Now let's get into consistency. So consistency is something that I don't believe people put enough value in or don't see its power because they don't get to do it. Meaning, once you set out to do something, you end up being derailed by the next shiny object, adversity, friends,
Distraction.
family, distractions. I mean, overall, they're distractions from the
Mhm.
goal itself.
Yeah.
And the analogy I love to use, which is it's a powerful analogy because people don't really put this in perspective until they hear it again, which is rivers cut through rock and form bigger rivers because of consistency, not the power in which they come down that mountain. It's time and doing the same thing over and over and over. And I believe that our generation has this instant gratification.
Yeah.
Instagram, Insta this, Insta that. And this trait will withstand the testament of time, because if you do something for enough time, you will be successful.
Yeah. Well, the thing is consistency consists of failing forward. And I think that's a lot of people what they try to avoid is failing.
Yeah.
You're gonna fail forward. Anybody you interview, anybody that you know, they all have failed.
Yeah.
But they just keep on moving forward. So consistency is taking those steps and understanding that you're not going to know it all, and understanding that you're going to have to adjust in certain situations, and understanding that you're going to fail, and be okay with it. Be okay with people not agreeing with your vision.
Right.
You know, when I started saying, "Hey, I'm going to have a promotional company," and people laughed at me, they're like, "You're going to make a career out of promotions." Like, really? VIP services, party buses, limos, events. And like I started putting everything into perspective, and it grew. Did it happen overnight? No. And that's what a lot of people need to understand. Like, if you have a talent, which I believe everyone has a talent, it's just a matter of how to use your talent and how to manage your time wisely and understand the value of your talent to where you can create an income.
Right.
You will
Monetize it.
Yeah,
Yep.
you will be able to. So for me, the consistency was, okay, no college degree, no rich parents, no investors, no nothing. What do? You go out, and thankfully we have this thing called social media. And that was a really big factor to me, because I started using social media as a business platform before it became popular. And I understood the trend of it. You know, granted, it took me a while to understand Facebook and Instagram, but I went forward with it knowing it. Now, the one thing I will say, I never faked it till I made it, because I just not that type of person. And to me, I know there's a lot of people say fake it till you make it, but I don't believe in that. I'm against that. I believe in, you got to be bold to let people know where you're at in life. I had another guy that wanted to interview me, right? And I would love to say his name, but I kind of don't want to. But it was so crazy because he kept on asking me, "Hey, I want to interview. I want to interview. I want to interview." And I was like, "Okay, meet with me. Tell me about this interview that you want to do. I want to put you in a Lamborghini. I want to put you in front of a mansion. I want to do this. I want to do this." I was like, "Bro, I don't own a Lamborghini. I don't live in a mansion. Like, why would you want me to do an interview that way?" Because it's your goals and your dreams, and you want people to know that success is right there. I was like, "But that's not me."
Nor is that my definition of success.
Yes, and that's a great thing, because every definition of success is different from everyone. Me, just being true happy.
Yeah.
And not chasing money. I learned at a young age too, not to chase money, never chase money. But it was crazy because I told him that if I did do this interview like that, so you know how many people would make fun of me? I was like, because they'd be like, "MikeAnthony, where's your Ferrari?
Yeah.
Like, where's your mansion?" Like, my close friends know I don't own
Right,
that.
right.
I'm like, dude, I was like, no. So I don't believe in faking it until you make it. I believe, like, be real who you are, where you're at in life, and let people know the progress of what you're doing so that you can go ahead and do it. And so with social media, with the consistency was actually when Facebook decided to go live. I think it was in like 2014 or 15.
I think so, yeah.
I went live everywhere. People. And the thing with me is that I had speech problems at a young age. I was in special classes and in a special in school, meaning like there was a program called CMC. So they would take me out of the classroom, put me into this other one-on-one with teachers, and they would teach me the lessons because I had a learning disability.
Well, it's a good thing you had good looks.
And I know, right? and so I had a learning disability to where they would teach me, and then I had to learn like that. So when I realized with the Facebook stuff is that I had to really focus on how do I speak because of the learning disability that I had. So I started getting my phone out and the camera setting, and I would put the camera on, and I would start speaking to myself. And whoever I was dating at that moment, they were like, "Why are you talking to yourself?" I said, because I have to study myself. I have to see if I'm saying like or I have to see if I'm blinking too much. I have to see this and that. And I would really focus on the way I was speaking. So then when I would go live, I didn't make those mistakes.
Yeah, you articulated
Yes,
properly
and I
because
would-
you are now polished, not
Mhm.
because of giving all of these presentations and whatnot, because
Mhm.
you took the time behind closed doors and
Mhm.
said, I've got a goal. I know what I need to do intentionally.
Mhm.
Now let me do that. And I don't
Mhm.
care who is going to judge me
Mhm.
because this is what it takes for me to be polished,
Mhm.
period.
Yeah.
There's two things that you mentioned that I want to kind of spotlight. The Facebook thing. There, in my opinion, are two types of consumers of social media. There are the actual consumers of it,
Mhm.
and then there are the content creators, the providers, the
Mhm.
folks that understand what it is and don't get sucked into the world of it, but yet use it as a leverage tool,
yeah.
100%. And I did the same thing back in 2012, and everybody's like, why are you on Facebook so much? Da, da, da. They didn't see the amount of borrowers that I was helped after the fact or behind the scenes,
Mhm.
but it continued to work. So I would just tell those people, it's not for you.
Yeah.
Keep moving.
Mhm.
The second thing, and you obviously did a great job of that, not only understanding that this is what it is, but also taking a tactic approach, specialized, and then incorporating it and practicing it, and then going, okay, now I need to tweak this, tweak that, so that I can increase my viewership and increase my spider web, like I call it. The other thing is about the fake it till you make it. And I think that it gets a bad rap because fake it till you make it does sound like you are being fake. But I think the intention behind fake it till you make it is similar to you recording yourself, talking to yourself, making sure that you sound proper, making
Yeah.
sure that you articulate the right way. That, in essence, now you're in front of the camera and you're doing it right. But before that, you did have to fake it in order to get there. Similar, I compare to dressing the part,
Yeah.
studying your customer before you actually meet with the customer. That is a small example of faking it till you make it versus truly just faking it.
Yeah.
I think you go into it with the right intentions. So therefore, are you faking it? Yeah, because you haven't made it yet, and nor have you done this before.
As long as you're being transparent about where you're at.
Yeah,
You know?
agree.
But not when I say fake it and make it, I mean like when people are telling people that they've already accomplished things that they haven't
Yes.
accomplished.
Yes.
That's what I mean by fake it.
And that, I think, is lying.
Yeah.
That's just lying. You know what I mean?
Like straight lying.
Yeah, you're
y'all.
just a liar. Yes.
Yeah.
And that's I don't think that those folks make it to where we're at because their lies get caught like
No.
this. People aren't stupid, you know?
So in that, fake it till you make it
Mm-hmm.
thing. The reason why and I'll repeat myself is that I just don't like people thinking that you're somewhere where you're not.
Right.
But no matter what, however you take that saying, as long as you're just being real, that's really what the most
Genuine
important,
you.
and just not lying.
Yep.
So for me, going to studying myself and doing the live feeds on Facebook, one of my friends that I had met years ago that was a videographer at the clubs was getting into doing real productions, but he was an introvert. So he
Mhm.
reached out to me on Facebook and said, "Hey, would you like some real production?" I said, "I would, but I can't afford you because I have nothing."
Right.
So he's like, "Look, I'm an introvert. I really can't. I don't know how to talk to people in
Right.
a way to get them to buy my services. So why not we just partner up and then you do your thing, but real production, and then we'll see what happens." I said, "Okay, we're going to do this." I said, "We're going to go knock on every single door that I know
Mm-hmm.
with all the relationships that I have, and we're going to just do a bunch of live interviews. We're going to do a bunch of, this and that, just promo videos. We're going to just go out there and do it." And that's what we did. We started going to each buddy that I knew and helping them and doing interviews and whatnot. And it was crazy because then people started reaching out. "Hey, how much do you charge for this? Or how much do you charge for this?" And then we were charging anywhere between 250 to 500 to made me think like, okay, now I have people, really companies. Like I had a roofing company wanting to have marketing done, had a hospital wanting marketing done. And it was just an eye opener because we were building something. And in hindsight, no one knew that we weren't charging anything. We were doing everything for free.
And that, I will say, listeners, is my example of faking it till you make it.
No,
because
yes,
at
yes,
the end of the
that
day,
right there.
you gave the impression intentionally that your company knows what the hell they're doing and we're good at it.
Yeah.
And therefore caught the attention of other people going, holy cow, he knows what he's doing. That one looked great. I want that for my company. And that works.
No, and that right there,
That's
yes.
great, man.
So we were, and this is the thing, is that I tell a lot of people, like, if you have a talent, going back based on your talent, like, utilize your talent and see what you can do. Because most people are trying to get that quick results, you know?
Yeah.
So if you are in the field of marketing, and I only could speak based on experience, and you're a graphic designer, a web developer, a videographer, a video editor, anything in the marketing industry. And most people, like graphic designers, freelancers, they charge anywhere between $35 to $60 per flyer.
Right.
But if you focused on that one flyer and you went to reach out to business owners, first thing you have to understand, most business owners here do not have a marketing budget because they're owner operators.
Correct.
So they will do everything on their own. They don't put a marketing budget because they are owner operators. So that's the most important thing that people need to understand. So if you're a graphic designer and you charge, just say, an average of $50 per flyer, and you're offering 10 flyers for a small business, that's a lot of money for a small business owner. You know, so you have to realize what's your time, what's your talent, and how can you utilize that. So I always try to tell my team, like, hey, if I gave you all the content, how long would it really take you to make this
work?
And they would tell me, they're like, well, if you give me all the content, I could do this flyer within like 20 minutes. For real. All right, cool. So then you're not going to charge $50. We're going to go ahead and go buy packages.
Or let's give it away for free so that we can sell them on the video content.
Yes. And there's first things that you can do. But once they started realizing that I put it, you know, the marketing packages together, and granted, you guys, I had to consistently play with the numbers to make sense, because again, small business owners do not budget for this. But the magic number for small business the budget for most small business owners is around $2,000. So we have a marketing package that starts at $1,750 per month, and it gives you X amount of services based on social media content, videos, graphic designs, posting, and all that, right? And within that package, you got to look at it. If we have 10 clients paying $1,750, that's $17,000 a month. You do the math. So then now you look at all the graphic designers, web developers, and all that. They're going based on per project.
Right.
They're getting consistent work done. We're getting consistent work done to where people are doing it. Now, we will still help people out and do free videos, free this and that, because we want consistency always to flow. People start thinking like, well, like some of my team has changed throughout the years. They're like, well, we want to really just get paid. I said, there's going to be high months and slow months.
Right.
I said, and you have to adapt
as
to
with
it.
anything. Correct.
You know, so if you're spending your money on stuff that you don't need, then that's on you. That's a personal budget that you need to work on. I said, but as a company, we have to always stay consistent, because if we don't have new content and we're recycling, then we're not growing. So no matter if we're getting paid or not paid, we got to just keep on moving forward.
Right.
And that is the key thing. But it's hard for people to understand that, because they want quick results. So therefore, and nothing against people that work at 8 to 5, because
no, they're
that's
necessary.
Great, you know?
100%.
Yes, they are.
Yes.
And like going back to school and college, hey, I think it's a phenomenal thing and experience when you get well educated on so many different diverse things when it comes to college. But is it for everyone? No. I don't have a college degree, but I had to continue to move forward and be consistent with what I do, regardless if it's marketing or advertising or promotion. I would never tell someone what to do if I didn't do it for myself.
Right.
So, and you've been into a couple of my events a long time ago. I had a small brunch event.
Oh,
at
yeah,
Susie's.
absolutely.
So, and you were there. We had 100 people over there, and that was an idea that I had, you know, then. Now, granted, consistency from there to now I have one of the largest or the largest brunch festival in San Antonio.
Right.
So it's just consistency, you know?
And now let me ask the idea behind consistency, because, and I'll use Simon Sinek's example, when you go to the gym the first day, you don't see results,
Mhm.
second day, third day, etc.
Mhm.
But over time, you then start to see those results.
Mhm.
In your case, your results did not happen overnight.
No.
What kept you consistent? What was the thing, the motivating factor that kept you doing what you knew needed to be done to get whatever results, but still hadn't reached the results yet? And then obviously one of them, boom, there's the results, guys. Told you, we just needed to be consistent. So now you're able to apply it to everything else. But what was that kept you going?
You know, having faith in yourself, believing in yourself, understanding that a no means next opportunity and not just no, and understanding that you as an individual have what it takes to overcome, and just knowing that you can make a difference in your life. Like we hear, and I'm not sure if most people do this or not, but I like reading about other people's success.
Absolutely.
You know, and if you start reading their success, you'll start seeing patterns
Mhm.
that involve inconsistency and discipline, structure, time management, and all that. And knowing that being broke is just not fun, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
You know, being broke sucks. And anyone that tells you, you know, money's not everything, it helps to
You
have
ever
money.
seen a sad person
You know,
on a jet ski?
Yeah, see, yeah,
or on a
see,
dolphin or
see,
any of those things that
yeah,
cost money?
yeah, and so I never chase money because I just don't. Money will come if you have good intentions and you're just
Mhm.
working good and hard. But for me, it was just self belief and understanding that when I was able to have these opportunities and I was able to open doors for other people
Mhm.
and give them that light and give them that, you know, inspiration, or hopefully motivate them to show them like, hey, don't make any excuses, because I've been there, done it in a way, you know, again, leaving the house at 17, no college degree, no investors, or in and out of jail, 2 felonies, like learning disability,
Odds stacked up against
yeah,
you.
like everything that you
Absolutely.
can think of. But it's also, you know, what motivates me to inspire me to want to be living proof of, you know, adversity. You can make changes in your life, you know.
Absolutely.
And I do want to give another shout out to my one of my first investors years ago when I was actually in my early 20s, that helped me out to get my first party bus, was Rick Sanchez.
Okay.
So
No way.
he was one of the many guys that
Rick that owns the funeral homes?
Rick-
No way.
Rick
Our
Sanchez, yeah.
worlds just collided. That's
yeah,
cool.
Rick Sanchez. You know, I met him through John, because John knew someone he knew, and we went to a house party of his, and him and I just clicked.
Shout out Ricardo.
And
That's awesome.
yeah, Rick was telling me, he's like, guess who owns this house, this house, this house? And he was like, kind of like giving me the rundown, and he told me his background. And I was like, man. And then John was telling them, like, hey, if you ever want to go out, this is the guy that you need to plug into and stuff like that. So Rick started, you know, reaching out to me when he had, you know, family
Coming to-
events
yeah.
and
Party
corporate-
buses, stuff like that.
corporate
Absolutely.
events. And I was booking party buses. And I remember one time he tells me, he says, hey, do you own this bus? I said, no. He goes, well, actually backtrack before I say that.
Okay.
He wanted me to give him a tour around the city for different venues. And mind you, I never did that at first. But
Okay.
then he approached me, I will pay you to take me to hotspots
Right.
with my clients. And then that right there made me think about how to really run my business with the all access promotion entertainment, because now I was giving a true VIP concierge service.
Wow.
So him telling me that actually helped me, again, grow the company in different way, to where I can be someone to where people was connected to different things.
Very cool.
So when I was in the bus with him multiple times, he finally asked me if I owned the bus. I said no. He said, would you like to own the bus? I said yes, but I thought he was just full of it. And then the next day he calls me, and long story short, he tells me like, hey, come to my office. I go to his office. When I was driving, I had one of the guys that I was booking the party bus with, he offered me to buy it. And then I go to Rick and tell him like, hey, this bus
Here's
is
the
actually
details. Yeah.
all the logistics. I tell him like, hey, here's this. I just got this text. Like, look, and he's looking at it, and he's like, man, he's like, that's a good bus, nice. It was like 17 something, 17,500, I believe, or 18,000. And Rick, you know, tells me right then and there, he's like, okay, hold on, writes me a check, basically like, hey, let's go in business. And this is the first time I failed in life. So I get my opportunity to own a bus at an early age. I used it for the wrong reasons,
Sure, sure.
And granted, I was a promoter. I was drinking, doing drugs, taking it out for pleasure,
Mhm.
all this stuff, and not really looking at the business side of it. And we were making a little bit of money, and I was also giving it to other promoters to have them to have it so that they can help get bookings and stuff like
Sure,
that.
sure.
And I realized that it was just not, I wasn't doing the right thing. And then Rick told me, like, hey, look, man, you already had this for 4 or 6 months. I'm going to go ahead and sell it. Like, no more.
Right.
But it was my first experience owning something, learning it. And then fast forward, 10 years later, I own my own party buses and limos and stuff like that. And now I understand where he was coming from. And I still have a great relationship, still talk to him. I consider him as one of my mentors throughout the years. And
That's pretty
it
cool.
was just amazing.
Because he's a great mentor to have,
Oh,
by the way.
he is. And,
One of his best friends is one of my tenured loan partners.
Oh, really?
Been with him for 10 years.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. So I just learned a lot from him and stuff like that. So it's an eye opener of who you can really meet and who can have a huge impact in your life, as long as you have, again, good intentions behind it.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, that's pretty freaking awesome.
Yeah.
How things become full circle like that. How we doing on time? We're good on time. So as we start to wrap this thing up, there's plenty of nuggets that we've taken from this thus far.
Yes.
But a couple of things that actually stand out is when you were going through the risk of taking on the new bus or going through the risk of leveraging funds you didn't have just yet. You had to fail in order to know what it's like to feel that in the business aspect,
Mm-hmm.
right? So back to what you were talking about, failure is kind of that one indicator that you're at least trying hard enough,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes sense.
No, it does.
Go ahead.
It really is, because when you start having a team or a company, you have to realize you're not the only person that you're feeding.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to worry about your whole entire team first before you feed yourself. And believe me, there's times where I was, paying everyone else, having negative accounts.
Right.
And, me, I believe everyone should grow up in a way to where they don't have nothing, because then they'll appreciate the value of a dollar. Growing up pretty much paycheck to paycheck, with my family, moving from different part of towns and going to different schools and stuff like that. I know how it is to struggle.
Right.
I don't want to say that I was like like really poor, but we're just over. I always tell people, sometimes when you have a job, that means just over broke in a way. And for us as kids, that was the case, because we're living paycheck to paycheck.
Right.
But I knew how to struggle. I knew like how to eat, potty meat, bread,
Yeah.
ramen noodles, tuna, like TV dinner. I knew how to adjust to that. So when I was failing and writing checks to everyone and paying myself least, I realized that the consistency has to be there. Like, you have to understand that if you don't make it work, then it's never going to work.
Right.
And being able to have the right people around you and learning from them too. So I do believe in that saying, you are who you hang out with.
And I agree.
It
I was
really-
just talking to someone about that yesterday.
It's true, because if you hang out with a bunch of successful people, then you're going to be successful. If you take their patterns and you take their traits and stuff like that and you incorporate it into your lifestyle. You live with a bunch of people that are partiers, and you got to remember, I live in both worlds. I see the day-to-day entrepreneur business professionals, and I see the night goers. I see all that. So I see both lifestyles. And the lifestyle in the nightlife, there's people that you may not be in the nightlife for 10 years, right? And then you go to the club and you still see
They're still there.
Joe Average, Joe Blow, still there partying and all that. And he hasn't changed, because that's what they're accustomed to.
Right.
They want to be in the scene. And that's the thing. Like, for me, my sobriety has helped a lot open new doors for me too as well, because now I'm more focused and more driven. And when you have a family, that depends on you, and when I say family, it could mean, your real family,
Sure.
or it can mean, your team,
The people that rely
your work.
on you.
Yes,
Yeah, absolutely.
every aspect. It's just it motivates you more to want to do it,
Mhm.
and continue to do it, and understanding that you're able to build these relationships with others and have opportunities, open doors for other people too.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer as collaborations. So like you having your podcast, a lot of people are like, would you go to someone else's? Like, yes, I've been asked to do a few other ones. And I always love collaborating because I don't believe in there's really the competition. I
Right.
mean, I get it. Yes, we compete and all that. But for me, I rather collaborate with people than have someone think that they're going against me because
Yeah.
we have 1.5 million people in San Antonio. People, you know what I mean?
It's a lot.
Like 1.5 million. There's
And
a
more coming.
yeah. There's a piece of pie for everybody.
Yeah.
Like for real. So even on the sense of like the marketing agency,
Mhm.
I white label for a lot of marketing agencies here in town, and people don't even know it. They'll reach out to me, Mike Anthony, do you have a this is this? I'm like, yes. And they're like, hey, can you go over here and represent us? Yeah, fine, no problem. I don't go brag about it. I'll be like,
No.
hey, I'm over here. No, write me the check. We do the service. I'm good. Like all day, every day.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
and
And
that's the
on their
collaboration.
insurance in case something
Yeah,
goes wrong.
yeah. And it goes even back to my limos and party buses. So I have limos and party buses, but I partner up with everyone in town.
Right.
So I have good relationships. So if I'm overbooked, I will reach out to them. They're my affiliate partners and be like, hey, Mark, and one of his names is Mark too as well. I say, hey, Mark, I have this run last night for the concert. I said, I need a 24 passenger party bus for this. All right, got you. He goes in. He doesn't go tell them, hey, this is X, Y, and Z company.
Mm-mm.
They go in,
He
represent
owns
me.
it. That's right.
And then that's it, and vice versa. And that's why we have relationships, and people always contact me for stuff is because we build relationships. That's
Mhm.
the whole goal. Is the consistency is yes, moving forward and doing the work and all that, but it's also building the relationships with the right people and not being greedy.
Right.
Understanding like you can share.
Absolutely.
And my mom, God bless her soul, one of her best saying is sharing is caring, and it's really true. She taught us, if you have $1 and you need the dollar, go give that dollar to that somebody that needs it.
Absolutely.
If you have a Snickers bar and your brothers and sisters need to eat, you divide that Snickers bars and give them to them, and before you eat yourself. So sharing is caring is always a big thing to me as well.
I would agree on that aspect. So as we wrap this up,
Yeah.
is there anything that you would like to let our listeners know in way of advice on how to stay consistent, on how to
Yeah.
leverage themselves to it, doing that on the road to success? Truly.
Be okay to fail. Be okay to rearrange your projects, or your goals. It's okay, For example, for me personally, I started a talk with Mike Anthony, and then I stopped, and then I'm gonna relaunch it, but I stopped, and I'm not down on it. I'm like, oh my
No.
gosh, I failed. No, you just got again to understand prioritize your time and understand what really is a priority in you, and be okay with it. Be
Right.
okay with like, hey, I was working on this, but then I stopped. You
Mhm.
can always come back to it.
Right.
Like it's not gonna not be there, and team up with people. If you could team up with people that have the same vision with you, do it because a team will make you win faster than you doing by yourself. I know there's a lot of people out there that want to do it on their own. Like, I know it on my own, do it on my own. Like, no, learn.
Yeah.
Learn and be okay with learning. And again, just, fail forward and be consistent on the aspect of getting up and doing the work, and don't be afraid of your vision at all. Don't be afraid of your vision. Don't be afraid of asking for help. Don't be afraid of just networking and building relationships, and always trust in God. Like, and I'm not trying to be cliche. I'm not trying to get religion on anybody, but I put my trust in Him, and He's helped me a lot, and my sobriety has helped a lot. And just having real people that give you real advice, and that they're not sugarcoating anything or just telling you yes, 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 no, but really being real with you.
Yeah.
That's a big key thing in life.
Man, that's powerful. So as we close this thing out, there's a couple of key factors that I took away from this. And the one that stands out the most to me is the power of consistency. And you don't have to necessarily have consistency on a daily basis. It can also be applied to our bigger goals. And what I mean by that is you should not change the goal. You may have to change the method in which you get there. I think that another key factor to this has a lot to do with a spectrum of experience. And what I mean by that is it's tough to know what true happiness is if you've never been down the lowest you can be. You will never know what true success is until you learn what true failure is. And in those, at the end of the day, consistency will win over anything. It goes back to the story of the tortoise and the hare. Who ended up winning the race, guys? I mean, that's at its finest, the most layman term you can get with that concept. I really appreciate you joining me on today and being so transparent, really.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of folks out there that relate more than we even imagine, maybe going through this same kind of things that you already have that just needed to hear this to keep on moving forward. Consistency does not mean perfect. I think that is the most important thing is consistency does not mean
it's
perfect.
okay not to be okay. It's okay not to be perfect. It really is.
So that being said, guys, make sure to fail forward, and we'll see you on the next one.
You were talking about money, right?
Separate yourself widely from the pack moving forward. Is that something that you would be willing to have a discussion about?
Because they didn't get it. They were
probably
like,
didn't get it. Yeah.
To follow up with your clients, to generate more leads. You know what I mean?
Always check to make sure you're recording.
The record.
Yeah.
Clap, and I need to start over and all that jazz.
Oh, Lord.
Yep. We're going 5, 4.